I kind of begrudgingly respect just the dedication to not getting better at what you do for a living. Just coast through life.
It probably shouldn't even happen.
If you got it, you got to flaunt it, Acid.
You know what? I got a lot of stuff that I don't want to flaunt, so I just keep it to myself.
Jeremy is really big into the used mattresses. I think that's an excellent deal.
He has a used mattress store on the side.
I'm not going to pull the pants down without the pants down cue.
And we found out that Anthony's friends are all 13-year-old boys. Nice.
Clay, how you doing?
Doing a little more poorly after that terrible introduction. I was just fine, to be honest with you.
Hello, Sci-Fi Gangsters. This is a show where we talk about science fiction, comic books, and video games, but really it's just an excuse for me to catch up with my friends and to meet interesting people. I'm Anthony Nahr, media scholar and person who loves a good roller coaster. Let me tell you, I love a roller coaster. I don't think I'm ever going to get to an age where I'm too old to go on a roller coaster, right? Maybe I'll just die of a heart attack when I'm like 70-year-old on a roller coaster, but I do enjoy a good roller coaster. And that's our topic for today. We're talking about what are the best theme parks and attractions. We'll all share our top 3 lists. But let me talk about the people that we have here, including our special guest, Dr. Rebecca Williams, who is a senior lecturer in communication, culture, and media studies at the University of South Wales, and the author of Theme Park Fandom, a book that I really did truly enjoy. Dr. Williams, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Not bad at all.
All right, excellent. It was great to have you. And of course, we're talking about theme park attractions, and who better than the person who wrote the book or a book on theme parks. But excellent. I'm so very excited to have you on. Of course, we have my co-host, Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good. Been staying busy. But yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. Once again, Jeremy's a man of many words. But it's actually been a while since we've had you on, Jeremy. We've had to fill in with other people as you've been working a lot lately. But I understand you've been pretty busy. But definitely good to have you back, my good friend Jeremy. All right, very good. All right, and the next, we've recently promoted him to producer of the show. That's the title that we've decided. Yes. The producer of the show. Acidtrain. Acid, how you doing?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I'd like to thank the Academy, my parents, and big shout out to JC. I really appreciate the promotion.
Sure. Yes. Sure. Excellent. Well, good to have you as well, Acid. Once again, we're talking about theme park rides and attractions. What are the best ones? What do you think? And of course, you can listen to us via YouTube. You can see our pretty faces, or you can check us out in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Not just Spotify, not just Apple, but there's other things out there where you can definitely check us out in podcast form. If you'd rather be doing, maybe you're driving to work, maybe you're working out. I don't know what you're doing when you listen to the podcast, but there is a podcast version of that. And of course, you can check us out at SciFiGangsters.com as well. All right, very good. So let's go ahead and get to our warm-up session here, where we kind of catch up with each other. I actually want to start off with Rebecca. Rebecca, what's new?
Oh God, teaching has kicked off. We have a very different schedule, I think, in the UK to in the US. So I'm only in my 2nd week back, but it's busy already. Yeah, so just getting to know my new students, getting back in touch, started going back into the classroom as well, which is cool. Great, absolutely great to kind of be with people again. So that's good, and just trying to get my head around that really. So yeah.
So are y'all on semester or quarter system? How do y'all do y'all's stuff?
We do very, very long sort of semesters.
Okay.
So we do sort of 12 weeks through now.
Yeah. Okay.
No break. We don't get spring break or
oh wow! Like so you just go straight through. Okay.
We go straight through, and then we go back in January, and we go straight through. I think from this year for 13 weeks through to the Easter break, and then we go back and we go through for about 5 or 6 weeks.
What kind of spacing do you have between each section?
About 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll get 3 weeks.
I was just
break
curious.
it.
I used to work at our local university, and we,
Okay.
they love breaks. They'll have breaks all the time. They just had a break actually for
I
a
would love
couple of
breaks.
days. Yeah, so we're lazy around here. We don't do anything.
No,
Actually,
go.
I'm fascinated to hear how teaching is going over there during the pandemic, because I teach at two different universities. I teach at Auburn and I teach at Georgia State, and even those two schools, which are only 2 hours away, have different rules in terms of like mask use and that sort of thing. So I'm fascinated how everything is going over there in the UK in terms of with the mask mandates and that sort of thing.
It's kind of strange because my university is we're not in England, so I'm in Wales, which is a separate country and has a separate government. So our government in Wales has been much more cautious about it. So here you still have to mask up in shops and on like the train and bus. In England, you can do what you want, basically. You don't have to do any of that. And people aren't over there in England. And here it's basically up to the individual university to decide if we want to make students wear masks or if there's any kind of vaccination requirement. So yeah, it's really very very much up to us to decide what we want to do with them. So it's been quite hard to kind of work it out, because everyone's doing different things again. So there's no kind of rule that we all have to follow. It's just do what you want, really. Individual choice.
How do you feel that students are reacting sort of like to mask wearing and that sort of thing? Because, like I said before, Georgia State, because of, political reasons, you can't mandate masks. So it's up to the students to wear masks. But it's Atlanta, so they're far more likely to wear masks on their own, right? Versus Auburn University, which is mandating masks, but the students are less likely to want to wear the masks. So it's this weird, interesting dynamic that goes on at Auburn, where there's a mandate, but I'm constantly telling students to put their mask back on and that sort of thing. How are you noticing that?
Most of ours will do it because, as I say, they're still having to do it in shops and when they're if they're coming in on the train or whatever. So most of them are pretty good. I think they understand that if they want to be in the class, if they want to kind of get back to normal, they've got to do something, they've got to look after themselves. So we've sort of tried to say, if you want this to carry on, if you don't want to go back doing kind of virtual teaching, that's the one thing you can do to make sure this carries on happening. So they're pretty good.
Well, that's definitely great to hear. Although when I tell students at Auburn, hey, look, there's reasons why we're doing all this kind of stuff, and some of the students look at me like I'm lying to them. Like they look at me like I'm lying straight to their face. I'm like, it really is fascinating what's been going on here in the United States, particularly in the South. It can be pretty frustrating, but yeah, I guess it could be a lot worse. One of the things that if they did not require the masks, I think that would definitely have been a big issue. But definitely great to have you on. This is not our topic. We're not talking about I don't know what. So it just fascinated me just hearing how different universities are handling this situation, because it's so different from university to university. It just fascinates me. All right, excellent. So we'll go ahead and move on to Jeremy. Jeremy, what's new?
So in the little bit of free time I've had recently, I did go see a couple movies yesterday. I saw the new Bond movie, which I enjoyed. I'm going to have to sort of digest what happened to decide what I think about it. But it's definitely worth seeing. And then I saw the new Venom movie, which is not worth seeing.
Don't say that. Don't say. Look at all the Venom masks that I have throughout my room.
Yeah. It is. It's very much like the first one, and just a little bit worse. Okay. So the first one was
Who directed that one? Right? Who directed the new one?
I don't know. No one of note, I don't think.
Not Zack Snyder.
Andy Serkis.
Did he direct it?
Yep.
Oh, I feel bad now because I like Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so perhaps it's a little bit disappointed for you.
To watch it again now.
Yeah, so I actually just thought he was playing Venom because that's just what he does. but like I knew he was in it because I saw a Wired interview with him and Tom Hardy. I did not realize he directed it. But yeah, I mean, if it comes on HBO Max or something, there's a few funny moments, but there's not a lot to it.
Now I heard. Now don't tell me what it is, but I heard that there's an end credit scene that sort of shakes things up.
It's not even in credits, man. This movie's short. It's mid credits, like 60 seconds after the credits start, they'll give you the scene and get you out of the theater. Like
Okay.
start, with previews and everything. I was in and out in under 2 hours.
Wow, that is short.
Sure,
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Jeremy's been watching a couple of movies in between his very busy schedule. He's been traveling all over the country. Jeremy, he's doing different things. Definitely good to have you here watching. I haven't seen any film in a while. I do want to see Dune. I think Dune is the one thing that I'll actually go and watch in the theaters.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for me to not try to find a way on my next trip to go see it, because otherwise I'll have to wait like 2 weeks after it comes out.
Yeah, but I'm definitely excited about that. All right, so we'll go on and move on to Acid. Acid, what's new with you?
As much as I would love to watch movies, I enjoy movies. That's just not what my go-to. I'm the video game guy, So when new video games come out, that is what I do. So what have I been doing? New World came out, so I've been playing New World. It's really good. I've really enjoyed it. It's an MMO that is very pleasing to chop down a tree. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. When graphics, and not just graphics, but the audio, the sound makes the game what it is just on point. Now, there's not a ton of content in this game, but there's enough for it to, I guess, for them to eventually take it somewhere. So I'm excited to see how that goes. Let's see, what else have I done? I started seeing a chiropractor. Just because I'm a school bus driver, so riding that bus is a little bit taxing on your back. So I was like, I didn't. Of course, I don't want to like pop pills and stuff. Like, I can't feel my back. Yay, let's drive down the road. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. So I got recommended. Apparently, the bus lot, everybody goes to this chiropractor. I went in there and like 3 bus drivers walked out. I was like, oh well, this is the place to be then. Okay, I guess they work. But I went in. In this place, I've been to a chiropractor before, and this experience has not been anywhere near what my previous experience was. My previous experience was I come in, they do the back cracking and the side and all that stuff, that you do a couple of exercises and you go home. This place, you walk in, they massage your back, it's like a spa. You go in, they massage your back, they do the back cracking, you do some exercises, they do like ultrasound stuff, they do electro stuff. I don't know, it's amazing. I'll probably keep going, just even if my back stops hurting, because that's a great place to be. But yeah, so that's pretty much all the new stuff, New World and back cracking.
Now they don't do the thing where they put a towel around your neck and like pull on the towel. They don't.
I have not. Like yeah, I have not experienced that. I have seen that, but they don't. As far as I know, they don't do that. I mean, they might. They hadn't done it to me. So.
Yeah, there's definitely some scary stuff on YouTube. Find some some scary chiropractors out there. People doing some crazy stuff with neck cracking, which is not. Is definitely not. Doesn't seem very healthy.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Very good. Excellent. All right, so we'll go ahead and get to me. So it's been a while. There's been a lot that's been going on with me. Obviously, I talked during that the screening of The Purge, and we had an academic conversation where it was actually pretty packed. Like the theater was pretty packed of Georgia State students. But as soon as we went on stage to talk about the film, everyone got up and left, which is fine. There was definitely enough people there to make it worth it that kind of stuck around, especially the students who I gave extra credit for staying. So that was good. It was fun. The only thing that kind of was not great about it is it was relatively late. It was a late night for me. But other than that, pretty good. I've been watching I'm back starting to watch the second season of Westworld. I watched the first season, loved Westworld, and now I'm going back and starting the second season, which I'm enjoying again. Like I'm on board. And then obviously me and my wife, not obviously, but me and my wife started watching Titans together. The DC, you know, the Robin, that thing, which I like. It's good. Yeah, it was way better than I thought it was going to be. So we're watching Titans. But I did want to share this story because this. If you're not familiar, my son Victor, who's about 6.5, we signed him up for soccer, and he loves soccer. Like he's all into it. And I almost got in a fight with another parent. Nice. So I did like the stereotypical hyper masculine dad thing, right? It's very silly. I'm very embarrassed about it actually now that I think about it. But what happened was
you're not the only one.
So obviously, you know, Victor's 6 years old. All these kids are young, but the particular coach that we were assigned, like he coaches. Like most coaches are like, hey, run around and kick the ball around, and they're not really interested in all. It's just kind of like, you know, dads or moms that are just trying to help out, right? Mm-hmm. Right.
Fun
but this
for the
guy,
kids. Yeah.
But this guy, he's an ROTC guy who's required by the university to volunteer, and he's coaching. Like he's coaching the kids. Like he's teaching them strategy. He's putting them in place. Like he has defenders and offensive players. He's like constantly like yelling out signals and that sort of thing. And Victor is loving it. He's responding. And I'm like, this is great. Like this is like Victor. He could like soccer could be his thing, you know, because Victor's pretty good. Like
how old is Victor now?
6.5.
6.5. Okay.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm his dad, right? Victor's good. Like he scores a goal every game. He's really good on defense too when they put him on defense. So he's really good. But what ended up happening was we're playing a team. Our team is beating the other team very badly. Okay, so we'll start with that, right? So that context. Our team is beating the other team very badly. And of course, our coach is coaching up the team. So he's being like a coach, like he's being intense and everything. But he's also the referee because he's filling in. So he's doing like referee stuff and coaching our team at the same time, right? Which is creating this, which is annoying one dad. It's really making one other dad very angry. You can tell it's building up and up and up, and he's just complaining the whole game. Like he's just like, oh, this coach is like, what's wrong with this coach? He's intense, and like he's just complaining and complaining and complaining. It's like he's going up to other parents and saying, what's up with this coach? What's wrong with this guy? Like he's talking to like every parent. He's going around like, what's wrong with he's trying to start a problem. Like he's trying to. But anyways, so he ends up he ends up getting really mad when our coach tells him that he can't sit in a particular place, and that he loses his mind. Like the dad loses his mind, and he goes to another dad, who's the dad of a soccer player on my son's team, and he's complaining about the coach. He's like, what's wrong with this guy, you know? And that dad is defending the coach, you know. And the parent, he does not like that at all. So he's continually getting more and more aggressive to the point where I'm afraid that he's going to want to fight the coach. Right? Like I'm seeing that as a potential problem.
What?
So he ends up coming to me and making a comment to me, and I said, hey man, relax. The coach, he's having to play referee and be coach at the same time. You know, that's what's going on. And then the parent, like, he starts getting his frustration with me. Like he starts expressing his frustration at me for defending the coach, saying, well, actually, I'm a coach and I know how to coach. And these kids are just trying to have fun. He's making this too serious and blah, 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 blah. And so things get pretty aggressive. And I know he kept saying things over and over again, saying stuff like, you know, I'm a coach. I know what it's like to coach high school, blah, 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 blah. And I know what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, I don't give a crap, but I didn't say it. So I'm very happy that I did not say that. The parent actually ended up leaving, which was great. I think like his family, like there was other family that was kind of like, hey, you need to get out of here. You're getting too upset. But then he ended up coming back So I actually switched sides of the field because I was afraid that I was becoming too aggressive and hostile. So, and all in all, nothing really happened. It almost blew up. I'm pretty happy with myself for not getting too upset, but also simultaneously embarrassed of how upset I got. But yeah, definitely one of those stereotypical like mad dad situations that I was a part of, and thank goodness I didn't become another like news story of two
It's the
dads
most
fighting.
suburban thing I've heard all month.
I'm telling you, it's so embarrassing. It is quite literally so embarrassing, to the point where like at night when I was trying to go to sleep that night, I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like what's wrong with me? Why? But yeah, so that definitely good. So there you go. Acid, have you ever been in a situation where you want to fight another dad?
I've actually yelled at plenty of parents. Just from the bus driver seat, because they're not being parents. Like it's very surprising how many parents do not care about their kids. Like it's shocking, actually. I mean, you see that as a bus driver. Like there are parents that, like, I'll give you an example. There are parents, like, when it's pouring down rain and there's a kindergartner, getting on and off the bus. You have parents that are, at the end of the day, there they are. There's the parent, umbrella or not. Even if it's the sun's out, they're there. They're picking up their kids, And then if it's pouring down rain, tornadoes outside, you let off the kindergartner. No parent in sight anywhere. I mean, like, come on. And you've seen them before. Like, you've seen them. Like, that they're there. And it's like, oh no, I forgot. It's 2:20. It's time to get my kids. Oops, I was slept in. We had one, I think it was last year, that the dad, it was the dad that would sometimes pick their kid up and sometimes wouldn't. But when he wasn't there, the kid would be like, oh, my dad fell asleep on the couch again. Oh, my dad fell asleep on the couch again. That's why he's not here. I was like, man, you guys are, you're killing me. Like, what is going on? And now that I'm on special needs, like, I see more of that, like, just within our little special needs group, like, we've got some interesting home situations, because you hear more about it, because the kids are, I mean, they don't know any better. They don't know not to talk about it. They don't know that. So they just share everything with us, and I mean, we've got stuff from, I can't see my dad again because, he can't stop drinking and that kind of stuff. I mean, it just gets worse from there. So I've had some tussles with some parents before, and it hasn't been pretty. I've had some tussles with teachers before. I actually yelled at a principal. So I was like, guys, you're not doing your job. Do your job, and we won't have this problem. Like, it's very easy to be there at a certain time. It's really not that hard.
I like how our episode on theme parks and attractions turned into the most depressing conversation ever. But excellent. Maybe it's time to transition into our actual
transition.
topic.
Yeah. So in a short answer, yes, I have. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So speaking of bad parents, theme parks and attractions. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to list off one by one our favorite theme parks and attractions. We'll go ahead and start off with Rebecca. What's your number one?
Haunted Mansion, all the way. Absolutely. Disney's Haunted Mansion is my all-time favorite ride. I love theme parks, but I am not a roller coaster person. I'm really quite sort of scared of most roller coasters. So I'm much more about the sort of the nice, gentle sort of the rides that take you through a story, or something that I don't have to, I'm not going to come off and be terrified by. So for me, I think the Haunted Mansion is probably one of the most perfect sort of examples of that. I think there's a good story. It's kind of, there's a lot of imagination that's gone into it, and I'm completely obsessed with Haunted Mansion. And there's a Muppet version of the Haunted Mansion that's dropped yesterday, I think, on Disney Plus, which I'm watching tonight, and I'm very, very excited about to see what the Muppets do with it.
All right, well, fantastic. Now, remind me, I'm not really, I'm always bad about like remembering what rides are at what theme park. Which one is the Haunted Mansion?
The first one was in Disneyland, California. There's one in Florida at the Magic Kingdom, and there's one in Tokyo Disneyland, and there's a version of it in Paris Disneyland Park as well. So there's 4 different ones.
All right, excellent. Now I have to ask, how many have you been to?
I've been to Tokyo, Paris, and Florida one, but I haven't managed to get to Disneyland, California yet. So that's on my list of must-dos once the pandemic gets a little bit better and I feel more comfortable about traveling again. Yeah, definitely on the list.
And which one is the best?
Florida, I think the one in Florida. Yeah,
right,
the one in Paris is quite different. It's they made it it's quite scary. It's much scarier. So there's more kind of skeletons and corpses, and that's not very Disney actually. But the French wanted to make it more frightening. I think. So it's quite different. It's based on a lot of different sort of European sort of tales and stories, rather than it being a sort of just a complete copy of the one in America. So it's quite different.
All right, well, fantastic. And not to outdo you, Rebecca, I've been to Disney World once. So, boom. There you go. Excellent.
Look out.
There you go. So, Haunted Mansion is number 1 on the list. Jeremy, what's your number 1 or 3 or however order we're going in here?
Yeah. So my number 1 is I mean, it's kind of cheating because it's a big conglomeration of things, but it's the World Showcase at Epcot. That's probably my favorite thing to do down there. Like you can spend, Epcot's only open a sort of a subset of the day, but you can spend pretty much the whole time just eating and drinking and watching the movies and the various attractions at each country. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember we did that one time with you, Jeremy, a couple of years ago. We did that Epcot thing. The funny thing about that is you get full really quickly, and like you want to do the whole eating around the world and like, oh, we're gonna eat lunch and dinner there, and we're gonna have snacks and we're gonna drink and but you get full and I'll say it, drunk very quickly to the point where you're like, I think I can't do anymore.
Yeah, well, we speed ran it. Like we did it in like 2.5 hours. Like to do it properly, you're spending like 6,
at least
6-8 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Going around, enough time for a lunch, and then like a snack, and then a proper dinner and dessert and the whole thing.
Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable experience. The Epcot center there, excellent. Acid, what's your number? What's your number 1?
My number 1 was actually Haunted Mansion. Because of what it is. Haunted Mansion is my all-time favorite. But I guess tied for that, so we can talk about another one, is the E.T. ride at Universal. Basically, it's just for nostalgia. I love it. It's so great. Again, you get the E.T. story. You get to be on the bike. You got E.T. in your basket in the front. You get to fly over the city. Like, it's just... We rode it over and over again when we went, and it was everything that I ever dreamed it would be. So... E.T. I would tie it with Haunted Mansion and it's so chill too. Like Haunted Mansion to me is just nice and chill. You got the ghosts at the end that are in your little bucket. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, excellent. I've been to Universal twice, and both times never went on the ET ride.
You missed out.
Is that a bad thing, Rebecca? What did I do wrong?
It's a fantastic ride. Yeah, you should. Yeah, absolutely. It smells amazing as well. You queue in the dark through the forest, and it smells. I don't know what it smells, but it smells amazing. And when you walk in, and the smell hits you, it's like, yeah, you're going. You know where you are. It's that
ET smell.
I love that ride too.
Yeah,
I love that ride too.
Well, fantastic. We did. So obviously, when we went last summer. Alinda went with us, right? And my wife, Alinda, she suffers from motion sickness pretty bad. And going on the Simpsons ride was probably one of the worst things that we could possibly do, because that ruined the entire day for her. Just because of how it even got me a little bit. Like, I don't suffer from motion sickness, but that definitely the Simpsons ride is kind of a jerker there. It kind of messes with you a little bit. Well, good. So we'll get to mine. I'll go a little bit different than everybody else here. I'm going with Six Flags. I'm going with a Six Flags ride.
Okay.
And that is the Goliath in Six Flags Atlanta. The Goliath in Six Flags Atlanta. If you're not familiar with the Goliath, it is quite literally just one tall roller coaster with one big drop. That is it. Like it's a towering roller coaster with one very large drop. And been to Six Flags a couple times when much younger, probably like 10 or 12 years ago. And definitely one of the more enjoyable drops. Like if you're someone who enjoys like the slow escalation where you're like just building up that anxiety of like, okay, we're too high. All right, now we're definitely too high. Okay, now we're waiting. Like it just does that for what it feels like forever. And then you just have that drop where you almost feel like you're literally coming out of your seat because of the incline. The Goliath is by far the best ride for that. It's just it's a fun experience. And I will share one of the most worst experiences of my life. Quick story. So when I was much younger, so probably like 13, 14 years ago, we went to Six Flags Atlanta, and we did one of those things where right before it's about to close, a lot of times you can kind of just get on the same ride over and over and over again. And I did what you should never do. I put my bag, which had my keys, my phone, my wallet, in a bag, and I put it in a little cubby, right, where you put your stuff in that cubby, and then when you come back, now they don't really do that anymore because obviously things get stolen all the time. But back in the day, you would put your stuff in the cubby before you got on the ride, take the ride, and then you would come off and take your stuff back off the roller coasters. Well, I did that, but what we were doing is we did the ride several times, so my stuff was just hanging out in that cubby for several rides, and of course it got stolen, and I was stuck at Six Flags overnight because I didn't have my keys, my wallet, or my cell phone. So we had to call my parents, and they had to drive 2 hours to Six Flags, take us, help us, give us a spare key. That's what it was. Give us a spare key to the car so that we could go back. Probably one of the most miserable experiences of my life. Just like being in a situation where like, how do we get home? Because we don't have my key. We don't have money. We don't well, what do we do? Definitely one of the most worst and it's really the stupidest things I've ever done in my life. But yeah, definitely a terrible experience for me. So there you go. Goliath is what I'm trying to say is my favorite, is my first favorite right here. So we'll go ahead and go to Rebecca. Rebecca, what's your number two?
Oh, it's really hard, but it's the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Universal Islands of Adventure in Florida, but there are versions of it elsewhere as well. Just because it is one of the most incredible kind of bringing together, I think, of the use of screens, of animatronics, the way that it moves you through the space. It was the first, and I think it's still the only version of that particular ride system that exists. It's used several different kind of new technologies to kind of move you through it. So even if you're not really into Harry Potter, I think as an experience, I think it really works. And it's really bad again for motion sickness though. You can only go on it, I think 2 or 3 times in a row, and then you really can't go back on it because it moves you in so many different directions at the same time. But yeah, it's one of the best ride experiences I think I've had.
I really, really wanted to enjoy that ride so much, but my motion sickness is so bad. Like after about 15 seconds of it doing, I was like, nope. I had to close my, like the seat was fine. Like that doesn't bother me. It was the screens that were just completely annihilating me. Like when we were at Disney World in Epcot and I did Soarin' for the first time, I couldn't do that just because it's just, I had to just close them. I'm sitting there like this, and like my daughter's sitting next to me. I'm like, "Is it over yet? Is it over?" Like, and we're not even moving. I'm like, I can't look at this. So I really, really wanted to enjoy it because my daughter, she loved it. She absolutely loved it when we were there. So I hate I couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, so that reminds me of Linda. Whenever we were going on a simulator ride, and I said we would go on the ride, and I enjoy it. It was fun, whatever, like the, so like the Jimmy Fallon ride, it's not amazing, but it was fun, it was enjoyable. And then, I turned to Linda, I was like, hey, that wasn't so bad, right? And she's like, oh, I closed my eyes the entire time. I'm like, well, you're not having fun at all here. Like, this is horrible. Like, you're not in, like, so it's just one of those things where you kind of feel like, we got two very different experiences.
Yeah.
One who's enjoying it and one who's just suffering through it. That's very, very sad, but yeah. All right. So, Jeremy, what's your number 2?
So Galaxy's Edge in general, specifically probably though, Smuggler's Run. So being able to actually pilot the Falcon was something that I didn't realize I was missing from my life, but I felt more alive and hopeful again when I came off of it, and it was a lot of fun. It's like Rise of the Resistance gets all the press. And it's cool, like it's an immersive thing. But I thought Smuggler's Run was definitely the superior ride.
So Jeremy, obviously I have not been on Smuggler's Run yet. I haven't experienced that. Do you mind telling us, like, how does it work? You're saying you're piloting the ship, but how does that work? Like how's it, like you get in line and then what do you do?
Yeah, so they split you up. So there's 6 people, I think, per like cockpit. So you got 2 pilots, you got 2 like engineers, and then 2 like gunners. And so it's obviously simulation, but it does react somewhat to your input. So at the beginning I thought it wasn't, like we were just watching a video, nothing was actually happening. And then I flew into a couple things and I realized I actually could control the ship. So it is sort of like a flight simulator, space simulator kind of game.
Now, can you go as a group and like everybody in that group have different things, or is it like you have to get in a line for a particular thing?
No. They break you up into groups, right? So we had a group of 4, and so then there were a couple people who were a different group who joined us. So you go as your group and you kind of choose what you want to be. And yeah, there was no doubt I was sitting in the pilot seat.
How long did you have to wait in line for that?
So that was like park open. We sprinted right there. So maybe 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, that's not a bad wait at all for.
No, I mean, and it's really cool. Like it's like each one there's it's Disney, so the attention to detail is just unreal. So when you're waiting in the line, there's plenty of stuff to watch and keep your attention and everything.
All right, well, fantastic, excellent. I'll say this: I've never seen Jeremy just so happy when after seeing him buy that lightsaber at Dragon Con and just seeing him just swinging that thing around. I can imagine that you had that same joy in your face when you were piloting the Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah, felt like a kid again. It was great.
Well, excellent. All right, Acid. I think we're to you now.
I'm gonna go back to Epcot, and I'm gonna say Spaceship Earth. I love Spaceship Earth. And there's another one too that was in Epcot that I would actually tie it with. They don't have it there anymore, so I do kind of want to mention it, and that was Body Wars. Where they shrunk you down and you got to go inside the body of a human and just like travel around, and you were in this spaceship thing and there was like rows of seats. And granted, there was a screen there, but it wasn't so big, like that's all that you saw. Like, so I was able to, enjoy it. This was years ago. But Spaceship Earth, just as you're climbing and you're enjoying everything that's going on, man, that's just, and again, when it's hot at Disney World and you're in there in the middle of the summer and you're on Spaceship Earth, you're there for like 20 minutes just taking it all in, and then the air conditioning is like right on you, and it's just so great and so chill. But and it brings back so many childhood memories from like when you first go to Disney World, and that's like the first ride you do, which was for me. So yeah, Spaceship Earth would be my number 2.
Now, Rebecca, have you been to Epcot or have you been on Spaceship Earth? What's your experience with that?
Yeah. My husband is completely massive Epcot fan, so we always spend a fair bit of time at Epcot. And yeah, his favorite is Spaceship Earth as well. I think the first time I went to Florida from the UK, I wasn't a child. I was about 16, 17. And even at that age, the idea that you can have something inside this gigantic sort of golf ball structure is like, it kind of blew my mind. So yeah, we always end up spending a fair bit of time going round and round in Spaceship Earth. But I think it's such an iconic sort of symbol, I think, of Epcot as well. Everyone sort of recognizes it, even if they haven't been there. So yeah, we spend a lot of time in the front part of Epcot, in the future, what was Future World, kind of the more futuristic part of it. Yeah.
All right, well, fantastic. So my next one is going to be a Universal ride. It happens to be my favorite ride out of all the rides in terms of the ones that I've been on, in terms of Disney World or Universal, and that is the Rocket. Was it the Rocket roller coaster? The Rockin' roller coaster? Is that what it's called? Jeremy, can you remember what it's called? Like,
is it not
Rocking roller coaster? Rockin'
Ride
roller
Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the one where it shoots you straight up, or it doesn't shoot you, but you kind of you slowly straight. You go all the way completely vertical, and that's slow all the way to the top, and you just drop. You quite literally drop straight down to the point where you're coming out of your seat, right? It's definitely, if you're like me and you love the slow incline or the slow ascent, and then like that dramatic extreme angle down. And of course, if you're brave enough like me, because I'm very brave, you put that was a very Donald Trump thing to say, right? I'm very brave. So if you put your hands up during that, it is one of the coolest experiences. Like, it really is. Like, if you put your hands up during that thing, it is fantastic. And the rest of the ride is cool too. Like so it does the big hill, and you're kind of doing the rest of the stuff, which is pretty fun as well. So definitely that would be my number 2. And you get to pick your music. You get to jam out to whatever you want. Have you not been on that one, Acid?
No, that would kill my back, I'm sure. I would be dead at the end of that. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I mean, look, as a younger man who was more fit, I mean, you're fit, You care about, physical fitness, You have your 6-pack abs, I
don't know about that.
Your guns, I do my lifting with Doritos. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I get my workout in. So as a teenager or early 20s, dude, Six Flags, Disney World, loved all the Ninja was one of my favorite roller coasters at Six Flags back in the day. And I'm sure I would have enjoyed it, but yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact, so I'm actually kind of afraid of heights. Like I'm sort of like afraid of heights. So being on that roller coaster is great because I'm afraid, but I enjoy being afraid.
Are you afraid of flying are you afraid of planes?
Nope.
Like,
no, not afraid of. And that's what makes the Goliath so scary, is because like you can see the whole park. You get so high that you see the whole park. So it kind of creates this like, my goodness, we're so high. Like and the way the actual seats are, like you can see all around you. It's pretty terrifying versus the Rocket roller coaster. You're vertical, so it's hard to see around you because you're almost upside down, right?
That's how the parachutes were. Remember the parachutes at Six Flags where they take you all the way up and you can see the entire park, and it feels like you can see all of the air, everything outside the park too, and then they just drop you. But I mean, it's a parachute, so it's not super fast. But yeah, I don't mind. I like those. Those are nice.
Well, fantastic. There you go. I think we all have very different interpretations of what makes a good theme park ride. That's really great. That's fantastic. All right, so Rebecca, we'll go ahead and get your last one here.
This is it. I'm cheating completely here, and I'm nominating an entire park.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. We had World Showcase. That's part of the park.
That's fair. Yeah.
Which is Disney Sea in Tokyo, and Disney Sea is like no other Disney park that I've ever been to, and it is I won't bore you too much with this, but the Disney parks in Japan are owned and they're not owned and operated by Disney. They're owned and operated by the Oriental Land Company, who basically franchised it. And so they pay Disney for the rights to use the characters, but they can basically do whatever they want creatively as long as Disney signs off on it. So they have a lot of stuff that you don't get anywhere else because they put a lot more money into it than Disney does in the other parks. So Disney Sea is this kind of, it has a section that looks like sort of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It has rides based on that. It's so big, it has a sort of cruise ship, like an ocean liner parked at one side of it. That's a restaurant and a bar, and you can go in that. And it is, everything about it and the design of it is incredibly beautiful. And it's like no other Disney park. And it's completely original. It has a version of the Indiana Jones roller coaster, I think they have in California. But it has a load of original rides that you can't get anywhere else. And you can just spend hours just walking around and kind of just enjoying it and just looking at it. And it is, beautiful.
Fantastic. And this is why, Rebecca, you're the perfect guest for this, because I'm like, hey, there's a ride in Atlanta, and then everyone's like, they're Orlando, and then I've been to Tokyo where I went on a ride, so definitely add some authenticity to this particular episode.
If you ever get a chance to go to Japan, then Tokyo Disney Sea is absolutely worth it.
All right, well, fantastic. Good to hear. All right, so Jeremy, what's your last one?
So I'm gonna go back to another Florida one. And so that, I mean, it's all of Harry Potter World is awesome. But my probably favorite is Escape from Gringotts, just because you get to spend the time in the bank, and the detail on that one, and just the visual aesthetics of it is probably I think is a little bit better than Hogwarts anyway. So while you're waiting in line, you do get to enjoy the being in the bank and then underneath and everything. I mean, the rides themselves it's fun, but it's more the larger environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great example of a ride that's great to wait in line when there's going to be a long line. That's the perfect ride for that, because then you can take pictures, you can kind of look at all the kind of the cool stuff. You have more time to sort of dive deep into all the particulars of the whole scene. I will say this though, when we went to Universal last time, we went straight there. So we waited in line for 10 minutes. So you miss all of that.
Yeah.
And then when we went on the ride felt disappointing. Because I don't know if it's because the wait actually makes the ride better or not, but it was quite literally, we kind of did what you did for the other ride, was like a beeline straight there, waited in line for 10 minutes, and then we did the ride. I'm like, oh, okay, well, man, that was kind of fun, but I don't know if it's like sort of the wait makes it a little bit better than it is, but that's definitely a great example of, if you're gonna wait in line, that's a good one to wait in line for. Definitely very good. Also, the Jimmy Fallon one is a good one to wait in, like especially if it's hot, because Jeremy, have you been on the Jimmy Fallon one?
I have. I mean, it'd be great if you didn't have to deal with Jimmy Fallon.
Well, I mean, besides the fact that there's a bunch of like Jimmy Fallon bits that are constantly going on, which you're like, like the dancing bear thing that they keep doing that joke over and over again. I'm just like, we get it. Like, you're making him dance a lot. But yeah, so Rebecca, I feel like you had something to.
It didn't make any sense to us when we went on it, because we don't really get the Jimmy Fallon show in the UK. It's not broadcast here really, unless you go looking for it, I guess. So it was all very, like, it just totally went over our heads. So we didn't really know what any of the jokes were about, or kind of any of the references. So I wonder, if you're not American and you don't know that, I'm not sure how much you get out of that ride actually, because the actual ride itself isn't, it's fine, but it's not, it's not a must do. And we just came off it and we were just completely baffled. It just didn't make any sense.
I will say this, if you're American, the jokes don't make sense to you either.
All right.
Yeah,
But
I'm a
I
little
think-
baffled by the fact that Jimmy Fallon has a career, but
So I will say this about Jimmy Fallon before this becomes like a Jimmy Fallon bashing show. But I'm not a fan of Jimmy Fallon. I'm just saying, like, he definitely has like a thing. Like he does his niche thing, which is I'm famous and I have a lot of famous friends and we do games together. Like that's his thing. And like a lot of times if you watch it, it's actually kind of entertaining. Some of the bits that he does. But I will say this, the whole the acapella group bit that he does a lot, that's not funny. Like that's not even close to being funny. Where they do like contemporary music in an acapella style, that's not even close to being funny. I don't understand the appeal to that at all, but apparently people love it. It's very virally YouTube-y thing, right? But I will say this about the Jimmy Fallon thing is that it's always cold. So if you're hot, get in there, and during the ride itself is very cold. But yeah, so definitely. Where are we at? I forget. Do I need to do my last one, or Acid? Do you need your last one? Go ahead, Acid.
I'll raise my hand. Me. I'm gonna go back to the Magic Kingdom, and say, you know, you can hate me if you want, but the Carousel of Progress, is another one, and just to sit in the Carousel of Progress and watch the timeline as you go in a circle and enjoy the little song and enjoy the little robotics, and just to, introduce your child for the first time to what it is, and what's that, and that kind of stuff, when they, before the electricity and then after the electricity and then after, it just keeps going and going. And it's just something that we could do over and over again. I remember my oldest, her first trip to Disney, we went, and of course, first day was Magic Kingdom or whatnot. So we spent all day in the Magic Kingdom. We did, Splash Mountain and the Wee Way People Mover and, all this stuff. And, we get done and we go back to the hotel and we have dinner and stuff. And my mom, when we went to Disney World when I went with my parents, we'd go back after, when it got dark, because we left before it got dark, and we'd go back after it got dark. It'd just be me and her, and we'd do all kinds of stuff together. But anyway, so my daughter was like, can we go back to the Carousel of Progress? And I was like, you know what? Yes, we can. So just me and her, we loaded up on the bus. We headed back to the Magic Kingdom, and we rode that thing like 5 more times. She absolutely loved it. So that's just a staple at the Magic Kingdom, and just for me in general. So Carousel of Progress. There you go.
Well, fantastic. Excellent. So we'll go ahead and get to my final one. And my final one is also another Six Flags ride. And so the last time I rode this was when I was 15 years old. I did it with my sister. And I don't remember what it's actually called. I know it's not called the Daredevil Dive because it's a whole nother ride. I think it's called like Devil's Dive or something like that. But I'm sure you've seen it before, where they put you in a little thing and they hook you to a cable and they rise you up from the cable and then they just drop you.
I've done
right?
that. Yeah.
One of the most intense experiences that I've ever had. And I'm telling you, it is the most terrifying experience, right? So they quite literally, they put you they kind of wrap you like a burrito in this little thing. And then they lift you with a cable. And when I say they lift you high, like you are, and it's terrifying because you're like, okay, I'm good now, but we'll stop and we'll drop from here. Okay, and like you feel like you never stop going up and up. It is one. I'm telling you,
between a roller coaster too. Isn't that the one that's like in the middle of a roller coaster?
Yeah, like it's like you have this ring, and then it hangs you.
It's
from
near
the
Man
ring.
of Steel, and
Yeah.
Yep.
And they lift you. Now you have to pay extra for it, right? But they lift you up, and then they say, "All right, time to drop," and you have to hit the cable to drop. Like you are the one that has to grab the thing and pull the cable to drop. I'm telling you, it is by far one of the most terrifying things I've ever had experienced. You obviously you hit the cable and there's about 2 seconds of you being weightless. where you're just kind of like flying for a second and then you just drop. And then of course there's the bungee thing where you're like, boom, boom, boom. But it is a fantastic experience. If you're terrified of heights, you would probably have a heart attack.
Did you go by yourself?
I went with my sister, so we were kind of both
y'all are
wrapped
together?
up like a burrito.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I went with my brother-in-law, and of course we're not small individuals, so you've got two heavy males just soaring down.
Yeah, because it's a swing, though. It's like they drop you, but you're swinging also.
And then you
so
come
it's like
back and forth, and then they finally...
You swing back and forth. That's right. You don't bounce, you swing. That's right. I forgot about that. So you drop and you kind of swing back and forth, and you're swinging for a while. But that first drop, I mean, it's got to be the closest thing to skydiving.
I'm sure.
That you can see.
Have you ever been bungee jumping before?
I've not been bungee jumping.
Okay. You would probably enjoy it. If you like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Probably would. I'd probably be terrified, but I would probably love everything about it. But yeah. Well, Rebecca, you're shaking your head. You disagree with
it sounds awful. As I say, I'm not. I just know.
I wouldn't do it now. Like, let's just be clear. I wouldn't do it now. But yeah.
I would do it today.
I know you.
Me and Jeremy are doing it. We're going to be wrapped up as a burrito together. And of course,
I've done it. I am interested in how much it costs now because I did it. I mean, it was probably 23 years ago. Yeah. And it was like $40 then, which, I'm
sure isn't even 100 now.
Yeah, it's like $100 now. So.
Would you pay $100 for it, Jeremy?
No. Because it is kind of like the height of civilization, right? Like I'm going to pay extra money to scare myself because my life is too easy.
Hey, watch it.
So,
watch it, bud.
Like it's one of those things of just like this is a little ridiculous, but like not only is the entrance into the park, but I'm going to give an extra $100 just to feel a little bit more alive.
It's not like I'm paying someone to like torture me.
Well, you are a little bit, right? You're paying them to scare you.
It's not like I'm saying I want to be locked into a mansion where someone tortures me, or it's like, oh, so, yeah, I'm saying I just want to drop from a high. I definitely. But Rebecca 100% disagrees with that assessment.
No, it's as I say. I wish I was braver. I wish that I could go on these things. Every time I go to Universal in Orlando, I look at the Rip Ride rocket that you were talking about, and I think, is this the trip when I'll do it? No, it's never going to be the trip when we do it. So, no, I'll be on Harry Potter, and that's about my limit, I think.
It's so much fun, though. It's so much fun. Excellent. Very good. So there you go. Those are our favorite attractions. Some people say roller coaster rides, like myself. Others say it's just the experience of being, like the theme park, right? Being immersed in a fantasy world. Jeremy playing Star Wars, like he's the 14-year-old self smiling, wearing his Princess Leia outfit. I don't know what you did when you were 15 years old, Jeremy, but definitely excellent. All right, so Rebecca, what I want to do, I want to give you a chance to sort of promote any sort of upcoming project that you might have. I know. Are you working on a book? Are you working on a research project?
Yes and no. I'm still sort of trying to promote the theme park fandom book that came out just at the start of the pandemic. So it wasn't the most important thing at the time. So yeah, I've got some doing some talks coming up over the next sort of couple of months to promote that. And then thinking where I want to go with it. I definitely want to keep researching in this area. I think it's fascinating. And I think I'd like to try and do is get out and talk to people about what they like about theme parks. So this kind of thing, but in an academic way, and actually talking to people about what it is that they do get out of it. That I'm just sort of taking stock of where I'm going, but definitely want to carry on going down this kind of route researching.
All right, well, fantastic. I also want to promote your other book. I know you have many of books, but Post Object Fandom was another book that I enjoyed as well. If you're interested in, how fans sort of react when their show gets canceled or they're waiting for the next, the in-between moment of, what do you do when your show is canceled? How do you deal with that? How do you sort of extend the show past that, which is also very fascinating, sort of like the the affection for a particular fan object, so to speak. There you go. Very good. All right, so that's our show for today. Obviously, once again, you can check us out on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube as well. Like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. And on SciFiGangsters.com. For Dr. Rebecca Williams, for Jeremy, Acidtrain, I'm Anthony Dinar. Goodbye, everybody.